Is there a certain distance I should be from the microphone? I feel like I see.
Yeah, you got to kind of be. You got to be in it.
Like,
you know?
Right up in it.
Yeah, right up in it. And if you could just try to stay up in it, that's good practice.
I'll stay up in it.
Yeah, stay up in it. Endurance, right?
Yeah, endurance. Yeah, staying up in it.
Yeah, we do a 5-hour podcast. I hope you're okay for that.
Strap in.
Yeah, let's test out that creative endurance. Let's see how long you can go.
Yeah. Well, now we have a cold open. Let's just start the show, Kevin. What do you think?
Yeah, let's start the show. Before we say let's start the show several more times and not start the show.
Let's start the show.
You're a serial
Are we starting?
non-show starter.
Yeah. The best part about Front Center, just like I was talking about, the main center, the main brand is. 3, 2, 1. Kevin.
What's up?
May I be the first person to wish you a happy 2024.
Oh, yeah. Happy
New Year.
2024.
Yeah.
This is in the future.
They're in the future. This is actually
present.
Well, I'm still in 2023, but you're in the future.
I guess we should have discussed this beforehand.
Yeah, with our guest. But no, this is the part where the guest isn't allowed to talk yet. So they have to pretend like they're not here on the show.
Yeah.
But we could talk about them as if they're not here until we do the bio and the intro, and then they can say, "Hey guys, how are you?" Exactly. Another week, another illustrious designer, and another author, Kevin. Our guest today is the creative director of Fast Company, a fast-moving company where he oversees the visuals for the magazine, the website, social media, and events. Prior to Fastco, he's the creative director of Men's Health and has been in top design positions at Esquire, Entertainment Weekly, and Popular Science. Kevin, science?
Nah.
Yep.
I might.
I didn't think so. His work has been recognized by the Society of Publication Designers, Type Designers, American Photography, and the American Society for Magazine Editors. Mike is also adjunct professor at the University of the Arts, where he teaches courses in typography and editorial design. I'm starting to catch a theme here. I think he likes editorial. He's a terrible fisherman, a decent runner, and a lover of all dogs. Oh. His new book, Creative Endurance, will be available on January 16th, 2024, which is maybe in the past, maybe in the future. Who knows when this episode will come out? Who can tell? Welcome to the show, Mike Schnaidt.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Is that short for Michael Schnikel? Joke's so nice, I had to say it twice.
Nice. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
First question, hard hitting off the top. You're from Limbrook, Long Island. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Long Island is in the building.
Represent.
Nice.
I'm from Oceanside,
yes,
Long Island.
Neighbors.
Yeah. So question, why is Long Island actually the best place to grow up for creatives? Let's dispel some rumors and some myths and put some respect on our home origin.
I think being from Long Island kind of always gave me a bit of a underdog syndrome because it was like, people, the perception is like somebody from Long Island is kind of a bozo, a douchebag,
piece of shit.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I can curse now. I can curse. Cursing is
absolutely.
Cursing is encouraged.
Yes. Not safe for work podcast.
Okay, perfect. So, I think that there's always a little bit of that, like, I want to prove myself syndrome going on. And that's probably why I've had my quote-unquote creative endurance for the past 20 years of my career.
Yeah, we're going to get into creative endurance. We got a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Something Kevin and I both struggle with, endurance.
Absolutely.
Question, I agree with you. It does put a little chip on your back, right? Because I do think there's stigma.
Yes.
And I think...
A more scientific word, stigma.
Yeah, I just think there's cliches,
yes.
And all the cliches are probably most likely real.
Yeah.
In terms of my experience. those douchebags and those scumbags and the assholes that represent Long Island. They are there.
They're real.
Yeah.
They're real, but they're not everybody.
But not these two guys.
Not us.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I always think it's cool because another thing that I like to use to sort of say are two things. One, we grew up about, an hour train ride, depending on where you're from, outside of the greatest cultural center of the world, right? New York City.
Yes.
So you can, that a lot of people come to New York, they fly here. They flew here, we grew here. So we're actually from New York, not technically.
That needs to be on a shirt.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's like, but we also, we went to the city. I imagine you went to,
concerts
and Knick games or whatever growing up. You you can go to Soho, you can walk around, see, sort of art and culture, but you also get somewhat of a normal childhood, quote unquote, where you can sort of play sports in parks, and you have a regular high school and like a Chipotle or whatever,
McDonald's.
Yeah.
We didn't have Chipotle's back
I
then.
know. I'm talking to the youth, But yes, you know what I mean? Like there's actual suburbia,
Yes,
supermarkets
there was a lot of
and
suburbia.
things.
Yeah,
And you're not
yeah.
just like, on riding a train everywhere. You actually. So I think that's great. I'm going to run through my top 10 Long Island legends, just a list that I've been working on, Rio.
I'm number 1. I hope.
Yeah. Mike Schnaidt, number 11. Number 10, Scott Disick. Number 9, Edie Falco. Number 8, Jerry Seinfeld. Number 7, Mariah Carey. Number 6, Busta Rhymes. Number 5, Judd Apatow. Number 4, Lindsay Lohan. Number 3, Billy Joel. Number 2, Howard Stern. Number 1, Rick Rubin. Another author, just like yourself.
Yeah.
Also writing about creative endurance, somewhat. Have
He
you read
is.
Creative Act?
I've looked at it. I haven't read it. It's very daunting.
A lot of people are looking at this book and not reading it.
Yes.
I don't want to brag, but I read at least 100 pages of it.
And how'd you feel afterwards?
Exhausted. Which is actually a good segue because I read it on a personal retreat that I went on because I was feeling burnt out. True story. I booked a hotel cabin upstate in the woods for myself.
Yes.
Because this year, for the first time in 17 years working professionally as a designer, I felt a weird feeling, which was I have a weird voice inside of my head that says, maybe I don't want to go to work today, which is something that I have never felt before. I love design. And so I'm super intrigued by your book, Creative Endurance. 56 rules for overcoming obstacles and achieving your goals. And most of the book is about, sort of thriving, but not sacrificing your well-being. Right. So what do I do? What do I do, Mike? I'm a patient in your office. Struggling. Kevin's a young man. I should say that.
How do you feel, Kevin?
Burnout.
You're already burnt out.
Yeah.
He's already
Couple of years
burnt
in.
out.
Yeah.
So we're two struggling, creative people. How do you last so long? How do you think about baseball? What do you do?
I definitely don't think about baseball because unlike most Long Islanders, I'm not a sports fan. So I don't check that box.
Okay.
But I think that one thing that's fueled me and kind of fueled me for writing this book was just like, I like learning new things and I like being a student, a perpetual student. And I think that I was, when I started writing this a few years ago, I was feeling the same way. I was feeling kind of burnt out. I was feeling like, okay, I've been working in publishing for almost 2 decades. Like, what do I do with myself now? And challenging myself to actually write a book and to learn something new kind of gave me a sense of optimism because it was like, oh shit, like I can do something new at this stage in my career.
Yes.
So I think that it's just like important to like, even your second act or whatever you call it is podcasting, right?
Yeah.
And so like finding those side activities that can fuel you and keep you excited.
What happens when the side activities just start to feel like more work on top of your work? Because I think writing a book is hard, right? Like you've worked in editorial for a really long time. So designing a book maybe not so challenging or more comfortable for you versus me who has never designed any book whatsoever. Writing or designing either one of them, they feel incredibly daunting. But did you find that to be, you're saying it helped you sort of unlock something because it was a new challenge?
What it helped me unlock was like a feeling of like I was making an impact.
Okay.
This really came out of, I started teaching 4 years ago and I started teaching like in the middle of the pandemic. And I don't think that anybody really gets formal training on being a college professor. And I was just thrown into it. And then on top of it, I had to figure out how to connect with students like over Zoom.
Yeah.
Which is incredibly difficult. So in like learning about like 19-year-olds that are like going to be our next generation of graphic designers, they were like worried about things that I wasn't worried about as a designer. They were worried about, okay, like how am I going to like get through 40 years of my career? They were thinking so far ahead. Whereas when I was in design school, I was just like, I found something that I'm kind of good at.
They sound kind of like boomers.
Jeez. Yeah, we're old
40
guys.
years.
Yeah. So Kevin represents the youth.
I know. He's giving me that look. He's giving me that look.
Yeah. He's like, come on.
I'm not that young.
No, I know. But play the character, Kevin.
Play the character.
Yeah. Young guy. With tattoos.
So, seeing how they were thinking about their careers made me think like I would love to write a book to help them, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't want to be that creative director that writes a book and like just shows their body of work, because
Sure.
I think there's a little bit of an imposter syndrome happening there where I felt like, okay, I don't have the body of work to show, but I want to kind of create this quasi self-help book, just kind of book of inspiration for that next generation to be able to get through their careers.
Yeah.
And just through like a series of honest stories for them.
Yeah. I think it's super important, Will, because I do think you're right in that young people are thinking about balance.
Yes.
Like from the first day on the job, which
Sure.
is something that you and I, boomers, as Kevin said, I didn't think about balance until, at least I was in my, 10th year,
Yeah.
I was really just happy to be there, loving my job. And, I would do anything to just get bigger opportunities or continue to push myself. But I think there is a new generation, and many of them work at Center, that think differently about that.
Yeah.
And they care deeply about their life outside of design, and they care deeply about sort of making sure that they are conserving their energy, which
Yeah.
I think is a beautiful thing. And actually, I would say one of the top things that I've learned from the people that work for me here at Center is that, maybe I could also stop working at 6 or 7 o'clock each night. And, that is really important. Because I'm in year 17 or whatever, but also because I think I'm better when I feel energized.
Yeah.
And I feel excited about where I'm going and what I'm doing, which is how I just described not feeling at times when
Right,
I'm just overwhelmed or overworked. And so I think it's really, really important. So do you think you wrote the book for them, or did you write it for people like us? Or
I mean,
both?
I think I wrote it for both. I think
Yeah.
that, when I was thinking about, okay, who is this for first and foremost, I thought about the younger generation. But as I started to write it more and more, it was like I was thinking about challenges that I was facing myself too. Like that challenge of like a midlife crisis. Like, I'm kind of at the midpoint of like
Yep.
my life. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm 42 years old.
Yep.
Most Schneidts don't live past 84. So, I'm halfway there. But like,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like as I was writing this, and I was like, you asked about like side activities and what happens when it becomes like too tiring. Like
Yeah.
this was incredibly tiring. Like I was waking up at 2 a.m. with ideas swirling in my head, but I also felt like, well, I felt a sense of purpose.
Totally.
And I think that that's something that, when you find that sense of purpose, it kind of it overpowers any kind of feeling of like tiredness. But on the flip side, like if you're working at a job and you feel like you don't see any point to it,
Yeah.
that's when it's time to like actually have the guts and say, okay, maybe this is not for me. Let me put this down and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, what jobs? I mean, working in editorial, working in magazines like you have, I haven't never worked at one, but
Yeah.
I could imagine with deadlines and sort of fast moving schedules where things got to go to print.
Yeah.
Do you think that's contributed to sort of that feeling of like just needing to find a way to sort of balance or to find sort of a way through, or tips or tools? Do you think is that connected?
I mean, one thing that I loved about working in magazines is I had a creative director years ago that said, there's always next issue, right?
Yeah,
So we
that's
always have next issue. And so it was, this idea that yes, it's a fast moving train, and this was at a weekly magazine, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It'll be off the newsstand, and when we're talking about digital content, it'll be gone even quicker.
That's
Don't sweat it too much.
That's
But
good.
then on the flip side, he was like, well, you're only as good as your last issue too. So there was kind of a contradiction
messages.
happening there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that is interesting. I like that approach though. That like, that is very different between like what we do, which is more for our, sort of identity and branding and stuff that might not change forever. And so that idea that in magazines there is that fast moving culture, but also a little bit of like, we'll get them next time, like a little bit like sports. Like Kevin and I both big football fans. It's like sort of that mindset of like 1 week at a time, and then if you sort of have a loss, you're like, okay, well there's always another game in front of you. You don't always have to
Yes.
kind of play the world's greatest game and dominate forever, and your legacy is not dependent on this one issue.
until you look at all your work for award season, and then you're like, oh,
Yeah. I want to talk about imposter syndrome because you just brought that up, and I think that's really interesting. I believe that every designer has moments where they doubt themselves. I think I've met some people at the very, very top of this profession, and met people at the very, bottom and very beginning. Like, I think imposter syndrome is pretty normal.
Yes.
You see other people's work and you kind of feel bad. Do you have any tips or tricks or anything that you can kind of instill on people that maybe see other design studios work on Instagram and feel jealousy and shame. Asking for those people.
Yeah, asking for those people, not for you. Right?
Yeah. Never.
You know, I think that it's good to be a student, and I think imposter syndrome tells you that there's something to be learned.
Yeah.
From something. I mean, I'm looking around all this beautiful packaging, and I'm thinking like,
and the awards,
I'm looking at all the awards specifically, and I'm really
Clios,
feeling like an imposter.
We just unboxed them. I don't know if you can get that on camera, Kevin, but those gold Clios.
I'm over here. I can't operate a camera.
But
camera.
That says something to me like, oh, it'd be really cool one day to learn how to do packaging.
Sure.
Right. So,
Yeah.
Kind of flipping it into more of an opportunity than saying to yourself, well, I'm a piece of crap. Like I just, I'm dumb. I can't do this.
Yeah, I think that's something that I think about sometimes because I don't feel like an imposter. I think I've gotten to a point in my career where I no longer feel like an imposter, which feels like an accomplishment. I'll be honest.
Yes.
But I think I have a new ailment.
Okay.
So I think I'm trying to find a name for it, but it's never enough syndrome, which I think is slightly different than imposter syndrome because imposter implies that like I don't belong here, and I'm faking it.
Yes.
Like I think at some point in designers' careers, like like friends that I've spoken to, they kind of cross that bridge of like, okay, I do belong here. I have enough I have enough case studies to prove that maybe I'm not an imposter. But then there's this other thing of like the leaky bucket of just like continuing to put success or things that are in there and feeling good about it, and then all of a sudden it kind of just like leaks out the bottom. So then you're like, I just want more. Like I just, like the 3 Clios, silver, bronze. I need gold.
No gold.
You know what I mean? No gold. So it's not I'm like, oh man, what an imposter. I'm just like, it's not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So what do I do with this?
Was it not good enough or is it not enough?
It's not enough. I don't think it's not good enough. I think it's never enough.
We got to go touch some grass.
Yeah, I think that's probably part of this. Going outside, do you think maybe? Okay. Let me write this one down.
Just go outside. Yeah,
okay.
That's the.
I haven't even written a book yet.
Yeah, I know.
You can write a book.
I didn't read the book, to be fair, so I think maybe I'll read the book and we'll find it. But I think that's something that I'm trying to normalize or work out because I think imposter syndrome is certainly real and I absolutely do feel it at times. But I think I've now graduated to something else, which is also something I need to overcome, which I think other people may experience where it's like, I've spoken to some people that are like, they've written 10 books and I'm like, why do you keep doing this? Like, well, I it's never enough. And I'm like, okay, we maybe need to work on this.
But I mean, I think it's not bad to always want to strive to do something else. I think it's when you find yourself working nonstop when you're feeling
like you're so positive.
Well,
that's such a positive side of this, because you're right. Like I often think of it as a jetpack at times because it's like if it's never enough, then I'm not satisfied, and then I'm gonna want to work more to get the gold. But then I'm burning out because I'm so it's good and bad. There's good and bad, and you're choosing to see the good.
Well, I think also it's from, I interviewed 39 people for this book, and the one commonality I found with most people was they're the same way where they like to work.
Yeah.
And they like to create things. Like I interviewed a NASA astronaut who she was slated to go into space. Jeanette Epps was her name. She was slated to go into space in 2020, and she was grounded. And I was like,
what happened in 2020? Just kidding.
I don't know.
It's a good one.
I know where you're going. She was grounded, and I thought, okay, well, that sucks. How do you feel? And she was just like, I'll get there. The journey's the best part.
Yeah,
and oftentimes people say that, but it's like when you hear an example of an astronaut who has dreamt her entire life going into space, and then all of a sudden she can't go to space. But she was just like, I like practicing. I like studying to one day go into space, and
gotta love the climb. The destination's not the top of the mountain. No, it is true, and
it's fun to make stuff, right?
You're also a marathon runner.
Yes.
How much does that play up into endurance, creative endurance, available on now or soon on Amazon?
You got a lot of regular endurance.
January 16th.
January 16th. You run marathons?
I've run 3 marathons, yes.
3?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, New York City twice.
Okay. Is that the best one to run?
It is a really great one. You
Yeah.
have a great crowd.
In that little social tidbit I read, you were talking about cramping up. Was that the 2022 one?
That was 2022.
It was hot, yeah?
It was super hot, and
shit.
my body literally ran out of electrolytes, and my legs were the muscles of my legs were dancing, and they froze. Yeah, it was really horrible. But so to your question, that marathon, I plan to run it in 4 hours and 22 minutes, or quicker than 4 hours and 22 minutes, because runners are kind of weird and obsessive about their times.
Yeah.
And once I got hit with these muscle cramps, I realized like that time is not happening.
Sure.
But I
Yeah,
refused.
just get on the subway.
No, you just walk.
Just stop.
I literally like ran for
Sure.
about 2 hours. But then from that, I was like, okay, well, if I can get through this, then a hard day at work, bad client feedback, bad feedback from an editor, that's nothing, right?
Yeah.
So running really kind of like raised the bar, because it could suck. It could suck, but it also is very head clearing. And without running, like I can get kind of anxious and pessimistic, but after a run,
Sure.
that's how I kind of turn into this like annoying optimist.
Running. Okay.
Yeah.
I've run the Brooklyn Half. Kevin probably doesn't believe me, but I did run at some point in my
I didn't
life.
say
I
shit.
was running half. My father's a marathon runner.
Okay.
And has run New York City. And yeah, it is one of the most inspiring things to witness, I
Yes.
think, especially, being at that sort of end, area, and you just see all these people, and it's just like, I don't know, everyone's crying. It's so
The crowd is
emotional,
great,
and
yeah.
it's a really beautiful thing. And I do think running, I'm putting back in my life, running and going outside.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, these are the things that I need to do. In
That's
my
a 2
life.
for 1 right there.
Yeah. And I think it is true. Like, you reach to those other experiences, and I want to hit on one thing, which is, I think something interesting about like creatives, like you said, like we have such a fun job. And
Yes.
like, my father was a dentist, and I always used him as a reference, being like, well, at least I don't have to do something shitty like that.
Yes.
Or like, I love what I do.
Me too.
But I think part of that is why maybe I throw myself at it. And to your point, I love working, and I may be addicted to working.
You got to rehab, bro.
I know. I need to go to work rehab.
Work rehab.
Does that exist, or do I just pick up a copy of Creative Endurance?
I'm smelling a business opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think creatives are more prone to burnout because of that idea.
How
I
much
think
we care.
Yeah, because we care and because we love it. And I think if you don't love what you do, then maybe it's easier to draw boundaries, or say, I'm not going to, put in that crazy late night because I don't want to be working here, at the dental studio.
Well, that's the flip side, is you could be working as a dentist, or some other kind of crappy job.
positivity here.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, like, we have one of the best jobs in the world, and I think that, like, I've worked some shitty jobs when I was in high school, and I've worked in the back of kitchens, and worked until midnight when I was 14 years old, and
on Long Island, you work at a pizza
Brick
place.
the Brick Cafe.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
Shout out
in
Brick
Malvern.
Cafe in Malvern. Wow. Yeah, that will teach you some things.
Yeah, I mean, so like, I think it's good to have shitty jobs, because then you realize, like, oh well, sitting at your desk and working as a designer is not that bad.
Yeah, I worked
pretty
as a cabana boy at the Sands Beach Club. Are you familiar?
I
with
used to
Cabana
sneak
Boy
into the
Love?
Sands Beach Club.
Yeah. And
Were you really a cabana boy though?
I was. Yeah.
Okay.
And the women, the people there, the fries were never crispy enough for them, so I'd always have to go get the fries crisp.
That feels
up
like
for
a
them.
euphemism, but I can't unpack it.
Yeah. Moving on. So part of the book, you interview a lot of professionals and people in many different fields, which I think is super interesting.
Yeah.
Like, why was that important to you? Like, just in terms of like, obviously writing a book about creativity, but like you're talking to athletes and astronauts and chefs and stuff like that. Like, was that just something that you were like, I'm writing this book, I got to go talk to people?
Part of it was I wanted the advice to feel really universal. It started where I was going to just focus on graphic design, but then like as I started to write more and more and kind of put myself in the position of like, quote unquote, like self-help author, I wanted like all types of creatives to be able to, find some advice from the book. And, part of it too just came from like my background working in journalism, where like if you write about something that you're interested in a way that's exciting, you'll get the reader to be interested in it. So like if I could find advice about, breaking a project into small steps, but tell that through the story of an ultra marathoner, Dean Karnassus, running across 50 states in 50 days, then that story instantly becomes like more memorable.
Sure.
Wait, 50 states in 50 days?
50 states, 50 days. Yeah.
Endurance running is insane. That's like
No.
those are the craziest people on planet Earth. Talk about
Take some
endurance,
flights?
Kevin.
What's that?
Yeah.
No, there's
They
no
take
flights.
state to
There's no
state to
flights.
state,
They
yeah.
run.
Yeah, they run across the.
They run
How the hell
across-
did he get to Hawaii?
I didn't put that in the book.
Yeah,
that's a little. That was a little off topic for the book. So
Yeah.
He ran to Alaska
Swimming,
too?
Kevin, swim.
But I mean, I was like interested, for the endurance part, like, I'm a runner, I'm an okay runner. I run a couple marathons, but I was interested in like the mindset of somebody who decides I want to run across the entire United States
Yeah.
and not fly anywhere.
What Kevin and I both love to cook and eat. Molly Boz is in this.
Molly
book.
Boz is in the book.
So, because from my perspective, from the looks of it, she has a new book. She was on like Kimmel the other night. Her life.
she was,
lives in a sick house.
she's blown up.
Yeah,
She
it's
is
like
blown up.
what does she tell you about? Is her life not exactly what it seems, or is it? You're trying to tell me there's a life outside of what we see online?
We talked a lot about like her origin story and her first day on camera.
Okay.
And she was talking about how she just felt kind of shaky on camera, and she looked at the camera and she said, you guys, I feel really nervous right now. And they kept that in, and she kind of leaned into that honesty in her personality. So the takeaway there was like, it's important to just be yourself and not worry too much about personal branding. And I think that that's something that, if we're talking about younger generation, a lot of younger people are really concerned about, but figuring out, okay, what's my shtick? And I think the shtick is just kind of being yourself and just being, that tip in there was just to be perfectly imperfect. And I think that that's something that she's leaned into, not only in her personality, but like in her recipe names, like, she calls like chicken cutlets, chicken, say sal, and chicken cutties, and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, no, I think that is what I think people love about her.
She cooked you a meal?
Yeah.
She did not cook me a meal. I wish she did.
But yeah, I think people like that side of her. That's like, yeah, she's not perfect. She's not a perfect chef, and she's not a she's not a perfect on air personality, and she's just being herself. Which I think is I think everyone can learn from that, and I think because people don't love perfection. People are emotionally connect with imperfection.
Yes. Yeah.
Other people in the book, Sagi Aviv, designer partner, Shemayoff, Geismar Haviv, designer of the US Open branding, and then the new Warner Brothers logo, not the new one. Remember Pentagram did that one.
Yeah.
Then there was like the new one. That was one they did. Any Sagi stories? Because he's a legend in his own right.
He is a legend. We talked about his branding for Conservation International.
Okay.
And he was talking about how they had to rebrand the logo, which was this really ornate logo with like a tree and a monkey hanging out of the tree. And he said that the client was like just obsessed over keeping this monkey in. And so they wanted to kind of just create this really modernist logo, the logo that it's turned out to be, which is just a blue circle and a green line. Or did I get that backwards?
You got it. You nailed it.
I nailed it. Okay, good. So they just wanted something super modernist, the complete opposite of that. And they spent about a year trying to convince the client to buy this modernist logo.
Sure.
And the client just kept saying, I want the monkey, I want the monkey, I want the monkey. So then they came back to them and showed them this video clip of like a jungle scene and a monkey in it. And they placed their modernist logo on top of the video. And it kind of it struck an emotional chord with the client where they said, we'll take it. So it was kind of like the takeaway there was like, you can present like a rational case for a design, but sometimes you just have to present an emotional case and just pull at somebody's heartstrings and find what they're interested in or what kind of gets their heart beating.
Yeah, I mean, monkeys rule. So
I was going to say, should have gone with the monkey.
Yeah.
Circle
Keep
and a
it in.
line. I would have went with the monkey.
Yeah.
Sounds like they were right there. Any other interviews of note in the book? I mean, anyone else that Kevin and I would be excited to hear more about? I didn't realize you interviewed quite so many people. It's amazing.
I interviewed a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else you guys would be interested in. You guys don't like running though. So
Hate it.
I'm
kidding.
curious.
Yeah.
You're curious about running?
I'm curious about running.
What do you like, Kevin?
Running curious.
I like skiing and biking.
Okay.
He's also a killer chef. Kevin is
good chef.
He's known for the kitchen.
I interviewed an Olympic gold medalist in Nordic combined skiing.
Oh yeah, I saw that yesterday.
Billy DeMond.
My research.
In your research?
Yeah.
Kevin does a lot of research.
Does he?
He does.
Oh, cool.
How do you think I know anything that I'm talking about?
Oh, that's
here?
perfect.
Mike Schnaidt.
So Billy told me this story about how like doing like running training, like, to become an Olympic gold medalist, like he would just put a Post-it note on the wall in front of his treadmill with a dot on the Post-it note and just run for 3 hours and stare at the note and completely just blank out in his mind. And I was like, holy shit, dude, that sounds incredibly boring. Yeah. But then, in that conversation, he made a distinction between like, he said boring is good, but boring and meaningless is bad. But boring and meaningful is important. So like when we're sitting there and writing for hours on end could be boring at times. But when I thought about, okay, well, what's the meaning behind this writing? It kind of goes back to impact, right? What's the impact I'm gonna make? Then that puts boring in a whole new perspective. So I think that really kind of put the whole running thing or connected running and creativity for me.
Nice.
You know how I never get bored?
How?
My computer in my pocket that I carry around.
Put it down.
I think, I want to talk about screen time, because I do think that's one of the main things. I think that is really,
You're putting up numbers.
I'm putting up numbers. Screen time. I'm getting a little bit under control. I am addicted, but I'm down to 14 hours a day. Does that sound good?
No, you need more.
Oh, okay.
20 hours. Yeah. Don't sleep less. Look at your phone more. It's good for you.
Yeah. I think that's possibly the biggest challenge to burnout that I think a lot of us feel, is that connection always, even when we're off the clock. Yes, Kevin says, put down bad screen, pick up the good screen.
What's the good screen?
The phone. Like, this is the bad one, the work one, and then you pick up the good one.
The fun one.
The fun one. Or Netflix. That's another fun screen. Any thoughts on screen time and burnout, and how any of this is hurting our endurance?
I mean, I think boredom is good, though. Like, I think that, when you put down your phone and you force yourself not to look at it, you hit that point when you're like, you feel uncomfortable. But then when you get past that point, you go out for a walk and you get bored and you start dreaming and you start thinking about, okay, what can I actually do? Like, that's kind of how the book came about. It's just like, a little bit of like boredom with like, okay, I've been doing this job for, working in publishing for X number of years. And also just like, what do I do next? And giving yourself the space to think about, like, what can I actually do with myself?
That's cool.
That's great. That's a fucking good idea. Wow.
Being bored.
Did you see on TikTok, actually, someone someone said, like, hey, I have a recommendation for you guys. I think you should go outside and walk around, but don't bring your phone and don't listen to anything.
Yeah, it's a good recommendation.
And
I like it.
And everyone was like, did Gen Z just invent walking?
It's been around for a little while. Yeah.
But it's true, though,
It's
because
true.
I think, podcasts and, stimuli, and I literally sometimes when I don't even have my headphones, I'm like walking home and I have an 8-minute walk. I'm like,
What do I do?
what do I do?
Yeah.
And then I just like watch TikTok with the volume
As you're
on,
walking
I'm
to the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think, like, I'm addicted. I'm gonna admit it. And this is part of what's leading to my burnout. Is if I'm not working, I'm looking at my phone. If I'm not looking at my phone, I boot up Netflix. If I'm not looking at Netflix, then Hulu. And if not Hulu, Paramount Plus. And if not Paramount Plus, then YouTube TV. And if not YouTube TV, then TV. And
Read a
if not
book.
TV.
Read Creative Endurance.
Wow.
Endurance.
What a plug. What a plug.
Put down the screen, read the book.
Stuck the landing. That was great.
Man, wow. I see what you're putting up. I mean, honestly, it's an important topic, and I think we're just kind of hitting the surface of it, of like in terms of this modern age of working. And another thing that I think about sometimes, I would love to get your thoughts. I'm a patient in your office. I'm just
Dr.
listening-
Mike.
Yeah,
Dr. Mike.
Yeah, Dr. Schnaidt.
Yeah.
Which sounds real. Just talking about my syndromes and the things that I think about that are preventing me from feeling joy.
Do you not feel joy?
I mean, sometimes.
You seem like a joyful guy.
No, I do feel joy, but I do feel tired, and I feel tired in my brain in a way that I don't think I felt before.
Do you feel gratified,
I'm
though?
39, so
Yeah.
I'm right at the cusp of hitting that 40 mark. Bleep that out, Kevin. Don't put that in the show.
Yeah.
But I do think I'm feeling limitations in my brain in a way that I've never felt. I always typically run off of a fuel of general optimism and passion and joy for what I do. And I can get excited about most projects. Kevin will tell you that. True. If a client comes to me, they want to launch anything, a restaurant, a fucking sort of a Tylenol, who cares? I'm here for it. I can get excited about it. But I think one of the challenges, or I've felt this year, is this new way of working. And I was actually talking about this to my family, because the change in Zoom work culture versus the culture that you and I grew up in, which is physically in an office. And if we had a meeting, it was either in that office or we'd go somewhere else to present work. And, these days, if you look at my schedule, Mike, Dr.
I would love to
Schnaidt,
see it.
It's fucked.
It's fucked. It's fucking fucked. And it's like come from, because I'm trying to, leave a little bit earlier, but from 10 to fucking 6, I am back to back to back to back. And sometimes it's presentation, then boom, turn off the Zoom, leave Zoom, go to next Zoom, which is a new business meeting, go to the next meeting, it's a creative review, go to the next meeting, it's a brainstorm, go to the next meeting, it's a planning meeting. It's like, it's nonstop. And I could be working, much more efficiently and much more productively in the hours of the day. but it's not leading to endurance.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that I might not be able to last that long. What do I do?
I mean, I think it's also important to look at your career from a longer point of view and to realize that, like, life is going to be very busy at a certain point in your career, but things are going to slow down, right? So, like, to appreciate the fact that, like, you've got this much work now, but, like, I mean, I know that, for me, I'm not going to have the same amount of work in 10 years or the same amount of, like, magazine work, same amount of design work. So I think about it like, I will work intensely for this period of my life. But, knowing that, like, probably in my 50s, things will slow down and I will appreciate that slowdown. But you're saying you're tired, but you still seem very gratified. You seem energized. And I think that
It's just a character.
It's not just a character. That's a real smile.
No, I do love this. And just because I like hearing myself talk into a microphone.
That's the only reason why.
That's another element for another show. That is a good way to think about it. And I do think I have gotten that advice from other people, like, just put your head down and, like, kind of grind for a little bit. And,
that's bad advice for you.
Yeah. I mean, that person who
honestly,
gave me that advice.
People need to be telling you to go touch
he wrote a book.
He's on the back cover of your book, but I won't name who he is. But no, it's like sometimes there are moments, like obviously starting a company or writing a book. They're like key moments in your life of like, well, listen, this isn't going to be a time for it to be chill. It's just not. It's just, I'm still in the startup phase of a company. And, if you're writing a book, like, you're not working a full-time job at a magazine, like, it's not going to be time to put the feet up and, kick it on a lounger. And
you got to find your moments, though. You can't just be fucking grinding for 5 years.
Not with that attitude, Kevin, man. I'm out here grinding, hustling, working hard, dedication, perseverance, sweat, running the marathon of life.
Yeah, it's about balance.
But a balance, but with balance and going outside and running, the two things are down. Can we talk about magazines?
Sure.
You seem to like magazines a lot.
I've been there.
What do you like about working for magazines, being sort of in publication and working in print?
Well, first off, I don't just work in print. I work, on
That's
online
fair.
too, events, social media, so the whole thing. But what I like about magazines in general is, like, it's fun. It's like making a piece of art every single issue.
Yeah.
And I loved comics as a kid, so I kind of feel like to some degree, like, I'm, like, still making comics. Like, I always loved sequential storytelling, and what I love about a magazine is it's like you're holding it, and we've got your hopefully have your attention on this magazine or this book for a certain period of time.
Yeah, I mean, I thumbed through it real quick because this is my first time laying eyes on it. We had a little mishap with the book arrival.
Yes.
But it's very editorial, and it always blows my mind, like, just how much stuff is going on, and, like,
in this book in particular.
like editorial layout.
Okay, okay.
There's just so much to look at and, like, guide you around.
Yes.
And it's just it's like almost like another form of storytelling.
I mean, I thought, you don't usually use the term user experience when you're talking about print, but I thought a lot about the user experience with this book, and it was actually more like I designed a format for the book and wrote into that format because, I would write to the point where, okay, a reader's going to be bored here. Like, if I'm bored here, then that's where I need to cut it off. So it was like the stories are all super condensed because I wanted people to read it the same way that Alex is reading.
Yeah,
where he's just flipping through.
I mean, you have activities in
There's
here.
activities.
Look
There's
at
stuff to
that.
do.
Stuff to do.
Yeah, I mean, you keep it pushing in that book. It's great.
Yeah.
Feedback from the client. Fill out the client. Push it. Sort of.
Push it.
Yeah.
It's like salt and pepper.
Yeah. I love it. It's so good. Sold. Send to print.
Look how engaged Alex is.
Yeah, that's what
He
the
loves
client. That's what the clients always say to us. No, it is true. Like, there's an art to sort of storytelling, especially in print, and it's very clear from your book. Like, you look at it, looks, you see the Fast Company in it. If you're a reader of Fast Company or you're sort of familiar with this, you talked about sort of social sort of engagement. How involved are you in the sort of the day-to-day of the grind of posting on all the different platforms? Because I imagine that's got to be quite a challenge, right? Fast Company, I would imagine, is quite active on all platforms.
Yes. Yeah.
And has got to post, probably seems like every day, or at least quite often.
Yeah.
What's that like, managing that?
I manage a lot. I do a lot with Instagram because I think for me Instagram is it's so connected to the visual community.
Mm-hmm.
So we plan out all of our Instagram posts a week in advance, and my team will put together a whiteboard of, okay, here are the posts, here's the order we're going to do the posts in, which kind of feeds into the editorial principle of pacing, right? So we don't want to have a bunch of portrait photos in a row, a bunch of illustrations in a row. But also like, on a longer timeline, thinking about endurance, what that relates to is like Instagram is important to me. So that's where I put my energy.
Sure.
There are other platforms like, things that we put on Twitter or TikTok are a little less important to me because it's such a fast moving train that like, if I try to manage it all, my head's going to blow up.
But you guys are the fast company.
We are the fastest.
You got to
company.
move fast.
Yeah, the
But
fastest.
I'm picking what's important to me, and I think that that's important too. Is like to put a lot of your energy into something that's important to you, whether it's Instagram, a book, a particular client, and then some other clients maybe.
That's good advice, I think. Like,
get all of Alex.
the fastest way to burn out or to for it to go from a creative profession and a job that you love to a job that's the way I describe it, is if you're truly working on something that doesn't excite you in a way. And I think that there's privilege in that, or there's not everyone can be like, I don't want to work on this because I like this, but I do think there's like, to your point, like you have, there's something that inside of you that enjoys Instagram or posting on. I feel the same way, where I'm like, oh, I want to post this on Instagram, and then the young people tell me, Alex, we're slacking on TikTok. We got it's got to be on this other platform, and I'm like, I don't know how to use it, so therefore,
so I don't care about it.
So therefore, I don't care. But now I do care because I'm slowly figuring it out, and also realizing how important it is. But I do think that is part of it, like. If you're working at a job, and I think it's very easy to say, but very hard to do, but it's like, if you are truly not, even in design, doing design at a company or something or with people that you feel isn't lighting you up in that way, it is probably the quickest way to feel bad about what you're doing, and it will turn into a grind. And I think that's really important. Again, not easy just to work on awesome, fun projects all the time and do things that you love. But I do think it's important to be aware. I always tell this to young students of I don't teach, but I mentor. Like, write the list of like what the dream jobs are, or the things you love outside of work, right, or outside of design. Because like Kevin loves skiing, and he loves cooking, and he loves football and stuff like that. It's like, I would say like, well, then maybe, try to write, or try to get a job in copywriting in sports, or try to get one in, Bon Appetit, or things like that that like are things that you are actually into as a person, and then, sort of find that way. Fast company, obviously, probably the most, sort of established, I would say, voice in business and design and everything in between.
Thank you.
Congratulations, you did it.
I did it.
Yeah, you did it.
I'm the fastest.
You're the fastest.
Do you guys have like end of the year superlatives? Who's the fastest?
Who's the fastest?
No, we don't do that.
Well, maybe you should.
How do two podcasters apply to get on the cover? Just asking for friends or people out there that may host a podcast, a creative one about the design world, and just like how do we get more our faces in? How do we get some more FaceTime in this fast company you speak of?
Can you plug my book again?
Oh, it's Creative Endurance. The 56 rules. I did land on 56.
I saw you had 48 on one of your drafts.
That was an old version.
An old version?
It was an old
Kevin's
version.
calling
Where did
you out.
where did the 8 more come from?
He didn't think he could go that long, and then he was like, I got 8 more, right? That's what
I got
happened?
8 more in me.
Yeah,
I got
it's
8
just so
more.
much endurance.
They thought you couldn't be done.
They thought I
done.
could. Thought I only had 48.
They thought he
Kept
was.
going.
Yeah, I thought he was done. He was like, I got a few more.
Yeah. Do you want a real answer?
Yeah.
For that
Yes,
question?
yeah.
I don't know.
That is a real question.
We were just. Yeah,
I like the way 56 looked on the cover too.
Yeah. No, that's
5
good.
and a 6 is a cool number.
Yeah.
100%.
100%.
I mean, you could have went for 60, but listen, I'm not.
Yeah,
here to
you're
critique. I'm not here to critique. Creative Endurance available now, or not available January 16th, but who knows when this interview will come out.
Yeah.
Last question. I want to talk about men's health.
Okay.
What was it like working with so many buff designers? Is that everyone there incredibly ripped?
Everyone thought that it was like men's health to be with a bunch of like shirtless dudes walking around the office.
That's what I pictured.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I think it was just a bunch of average people there. I can't give you a really satisfying answer. I will say that I was on set with Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, yeah.
I was a stand-in for Mark Wahlberg before he went on the cover shoot.
Flex award.
Yeah,
That should
no
be in
big
your
deal.
bio.
Yeah, no big deal.
Stand-in
Can you
for Mark
revise
Wahlberg.
my bio, please?
Yeah.
Do you know about Mark Wahlberg's schedule? Talking about endurance.
No. Well, he gets up at like 3:30.
Yes.
Yeah, his fake schedule.
His fake schedule. Gets up at 3:30, plays golf, goes to bed at 6 a.m. and yeah.
That is insane. Yeah, 2:30 a.m. wake up. That
Yeah.
is a ridiculous time to wake up.
You got to stay prayed up though.
Yeah,
He's big on being prayed up.
He's huge on being prayed up.
he prays up at 2:45.
But what time does he go to bed?
He goes to bed at 7:30.
That's crazy.
Does he really?
Yeah, 3:15 breakfast,
Just ain't right.
3:40 to 5:15 a.m. workout,
Should be waking with the sun.
then 5:30 a.m. post-workout meal, 6 a.m. shower, 7:30 golf, 8 a.m. snack. I'm calling bullshit right there because like
He doesn't eat snacks?
yeah, like also like golf is 30 minutes. Cryo chamber recovery. I guess maybe he eats a snack while he golfs. Then he does another snack at 10:30. I just love by the time I've just really genuinely like opened my eyes, he has had a full day of workout,
That's why he does
recovery,
it.
multiple
Yeah.
meals. Then he's got family time at 11.
Who schedules family time?
I don't know.
Mark Wahlberg.
Do you got kids, Mike?
No.
Okay. Is that
Ouch.
no? Does that play?
He's like, do you have any family time?
No, I don't have any kids either. That's how I'm.
That's how you have time.
dedicated to
Yeah.
work.
Alex, I don't want
Work
to put you
only.
on blast, but I've
Yeah.
seen you schedule family time.
I mean,
Oh, that's sweet.
I've been trying to, find my way out of this hole that I'm in, which is, I do believe as a designer who has experienced burnout for a little bit and is trying to figure it out, it's like, you got to see people. You got to see
have
the
to see
people that
people.
you love.
You got to see people.
You got to see people, not just on their phone, but like in the
Yeah.
flesh.
In the flesh, yeah.
And then, and touch them. I mean,
Not too much, though.
not too much
Yeah.
so, but like
As much as they would like.
as much as they would
This is
like.
getting weird.
Yes. And then friends also, you should reach out to them and
Oh, yeah.
see them sometimes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
These are
I
new
need more
concepts I'm
friends.
working
Yeah.
on. Yeah. I mean, listen, I cut all my friends loose because
You don't have time for them. You got to work all the time.
do you see my fucking trophies?
Yeah.
I don't get trophies from.
Friends don't get you those trophies.
No, not one of my friends has helped me get any of these
You got all those
trophies.
friends sitting behind you, Alex.
I know.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
right.
saying. That's why I
Right.
sit here at night and I'm like, good night, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, he kisses them on the way out.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg eats his second snack at 3:30, then he works out again at 4 p.m. That's how I know this list is bullshit.
Yeah.
2 workouts in a day? No one does that.
I should have interviewed him.
5 p.m. shower, 5:30 dinner with the family time, and then 7:30 bedtime. I am trying to go to sleep a little bit earlier. What time do you go to sleep?
10:30.
That's good.
How much water do you drink?
Not enough.
Not enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of
How
coffee.
many of those?
How many of these?
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 of these.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Is that enough?
Probably. I don't know.
I noticed you have a Grubhub sticker on your. Is that a
Oh,
Grubhub sticker?
That is a Grubhub sticker.
Yeah. Are you a fan of delivery?
My wife works at Grubhub.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
So yes, we are big fans of Grubhub delivery.
I am a big fan.
Are you? She's
yeah.
gonna love to hear this.
Seamless is Grubhub, right?
Yes.
Grubhub.
Yeah.
I'm putting up numbers on Seamless. I always say there should be a Seamless Wrapped like Spotify. Like you ate Mexican food for 400 times. Like
Is that your
Let's make it
go-to?
happen.
no, I actually don't eat Mexican, but that's for other.
Oh.
Those are other people. Mine is sushi. You eat.
Oh, okay, that's fancy.
You eat pizza every Friday for the. You did 6 weeks in a row pizza on a Friday night. That's
Talking to the right guy, pass it along, please.
what? Oh, it's a
Those-
Grubhub.
Yeah, Grubhub wrapped.
I got more Grubhub.
Yeah. Grubhub
ideas.
Wrapped.
Yeah, I think.
Was that a pitch right there?
That's a pitch.
Yeah.
That
was
my,
good.
That's my biggest idea.
That's
for
why you have these
Grubhub.
awards.
I mean, listen.
Yeah.
Why should Spotify get all the love with the Wrapped? There's data.
Yeah.
Data to be
Yeah.
used. What's another thing that Grubhub did? Oh, loyalty program points. Like I feel like for someone who orders so much Seamless, like I feel like I'm not. There's no. Like,
You're like the gold member, right?
I
now.
have a membership. I pay Grubhub Plus. Kevin, are you aware of this?
No.
Seamless Plus. You get free delivery on every order. Get 15% off for your code Front End Center now.
Grubhub Premium.
I'm on Grubhub Premium. Yeah,
Nice.
I got Apple TV Plus, Paramount Plus, Seamless Plus.
Are you getting cuts for all these name drops?
No, we actually
Okay.
do them for the love. Just
Okay.
Yeah.
sponsor
'cause-
the pod.
Yeah.
Grubhub.
Smash
But
that like button.
that. How often do you get delivery?
Once a week.
Yeah, once a week.
Once a week.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Is that you cook meals? Is that what you do?
The other nights of the week we cook, but we get a
Nice.
little stipend from Grubhub to order.
Oh,
Sick.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing like 7 Grubhubs a week.
Are you?
Yeah.
Do you cook?
Not enough. I also have a meal plan. That's another thing I do to make sure I'm always working. Is because
That's very Mark Wahlberg.
it is very well. I'm on Territory. Order first box of Territory meal plan.
10% off.
15% off. Use promo code Front Center. Territory is actually solid because it's cooked and you just throw it in the microwave or reheat it on the oven, and you don't have to cook and you can work more and screen more. That's all,
Yeah, that's all you want to do is you want to cook less, work more.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That's your key to endurance.
Seamless
Yeah.
territory.
You should write a book.
Instagram. Yeah.
It's going to be really short.
Burnout. How to get there faster. Yeah. How to throw yourself right into the ground and win a lot of awards.
Win a lot
on
of
the
awards.
way
It'll be the
there.
most vigorous 10 pages you ever read in your life.
Yeah. Don't work out.
Yeah.
Don't drink water. Never go outside.
Stay up all night.
Yeah.
Look at your phone.
Yeah. Bite off more than you can chew. Just hire. Make sure your payroll is very high so that you have to work all the time. What else do you need to do? Cut off your friends and family.
Right.
What else have we learned here, Kevin?
Yes.
It sounds like I have like 56 more rules I can put in my next book.
Creative Endurance 2.
Yeah.
The
The sequel.
book, the sequel coming out. Well,
Creative Endurance.
Mike, this feels like a good time to say thank you so much for coming on the show. Is there anything you want to plug outside of your book, Creative Endurance, 56 Rules and Guidelines and Tips and Things for achieving your goals and not doing any things that I recommend,
not doing anything.
which are
Don't listen to Alex.
don't listen to me unless you want to win awards, unless you want to be on stages. No,
I mean, you can do both. Come on.
Yeah. You can do both.
you can find
I was on the stage.
Balance.
Okay.
Um,
I'm searching for my center. That's what I say.
But
I know.
Yeah.
I always say it's like a guy named Peace who likes to fight people. It's an ironic last name for someone that struggles to find.
So your inner person is Alex Peace? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's Alex work really hard. Alex burnout.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find Alex hustle. Alex
Alex
grind.
Hustle. Oh,
Alex
I like that.
grit. Alex.
We talk about
sort
grit
of-
in the book. You
Really?
love it,
What do you
yeah.
think about grit?
I love grit.
Mm.
I love grit.
Kevin,
Kevin, you like grit?
he's
Yeah.
a gritty guy.
Time and a place.
This is time. and
When?
place.
I mean, I'm a pretty gritty guy,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah. When he hits the holes in the
When I
football.
feel like it.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else to promote? Instagram, TikToks, Facebook, Twitter. Where can the people find you, Mike?
People can find me on Instagram.
Okay.
At Schnaidt, SCH.
Wow, you got at
Good
Schnaidt.
At
name.
Schnaidt, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. At Schnaidt.
At Schnaidt.
Yeah. And
How do you get that? You just
Typed in my-
you beat up the
I beat up the other Schneidts in the
the
world.
Schneids.
And, I've got Schnaidt. So,
You should lock down all Schnaidt long.
ooh.
We got an episode title right
Yeah,
there.
right.
Yeah. Cooked
Creative
it up.
Endurance, all Schneidt long.
All Schneidt long. No. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate this.
Of course. No, thanks for
Buy the
coming.
book January 16th, Creative
Mhm.
Endurance.
Yeah.
And
Thank you for writing it.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I got one last
All
question
jokes
about the book.
aside. Yeah.
In your interviewing of all of these legendary people, I guess what percolated to the top for you? What could you distill from one,
Everybody.
or if not all of them?
Wow. A real
Um,
question. I thought that was going to be.
Yeah, that is a
I
good
know.
question.
Yeah.
Molly Boz, when we talked, she had a good piece of advice where she was talking. We were talking about creating recipes, and she said that she can't think about the end result. Oftentimes, it kind of blocks her creativity. So it's just kind of getting lost in the moment and just creating recipes based on what she's hungry for versus thinking about coming up with this perfect latke recipe or whatever. So I think the idea of not worrying so much about the end result is applicable to anything that you do, whether it's writing, designing, photography, or just being Kevin.
Oh, thank
Wow,
you.
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
You got any other ones?
He's like, that one wasn't good enough.
He's
So that
like,
one
no,
was
denied.
so good that I
Denied.
want another.
Yeah.
Tonight. All I
You
heard
got to buy
was-
the book.
All I heard
Oh,
were
gotta buy the
latkes.
book.
Latkes.
Latkes,
That's all I
latkes,
heard.
latkes.
Yeah.
And now he's on Seamless ordering latkes.
I had some last night. Listen, I don't want to.
Oh, really?
But yeah, it's Hanukkah.
Is that
you know?
is that a brag saying you had latkes?
It's a flex in my mind. Not.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? Give Kevin a second one before we get out of here.
Give Kevin.
Or do you have any
Yeah, we're trying to keep going.
any
Endurance,
surprises?
endurance.
Yeah, we got to keep going.
Yeah,
Endurance,
yeah,
endurance.
endurance, baby.
You
Um,
want to just keep going for hours and hours?
Yeah.
yeah. We got. I got 100 more questions.
Oh, do you? So just keep asking. Let's.
What was
write a
the
song.
What was the most surprising thing that came up in your interviews?
The most surprising thing that came up? I at the very end of the interview process, I felt like I didn't have an end to the book,
Much like this podcast.
much like this podcast. So this is going to be a perfect segue to the book, but
Or to the end of the show.
Yeah, to the end. Yeah, to the end of the show. And the book's already over. So I went to a coffee shop, and it's very cliche for a writer to go to a coffee shop and work, and I was kind of fighting against that because I didn't want to do that. But when I was sitting in this coffee shop, I was listening to this older gentleman kind of giving some writing advice to a younger barista.
Mhm.
And long story short, I thought he was just like such a cool old dude because he kind of like was acting like he owned the coffee shop.
Mhm.
And I introduced myself to him, and I was like, I really always had this goal of interviewing a stranger for my book. So he ended up being the last person I
Oh,
interviewed
that's
in the
awesome.
book. Yeah.
Ah.
So his name is Russell Francis, and I was like, I want to interview you. This is going to sound really weird, but like, we're going to have to do it tomorrow because my book is due in like 3 days. So he sat there, he stared at me, and he said, no problem. Just don't make me look like an asshole when you interview me. And he had the most complete story of his life. He was a Vietnam vet, and he was aboard a ship that was attacked.
Mhm.
And because of that, he was an engineer. He came home, he had PTSD. He could no longer work as an engineer. So he kind of unlocked his creativity because he was like, I don't know what the hell else to do with my life. So he started painting and he started writing. And he basically told me this whole story about how creativity is a gift. And he was the one he told me, like at the end of that interview, like after he actually wrapped his head around like what the hell I was doing, he's like, this is a really cool idea. This is, I wish I had this book when I was a kid and when I was younger. I mean, when you're 76 years old, like every decade is being a kid before that. So it was kind of this validating moment for me where I felt like, okay, I made some kind of impact. Like I impacted this like older dude. And I also kind of like just talked to a stranger. I interviewed a total stranger. So it's kind of like validating in this second act as a writer. Like I can just kind of muster up the courage to just go to this stranger and say, hey dude, like, can I interview you? So, that in itself was kind of like, for me, that became the ending of the book and became the last rule in the book was it's just important to make an impact in your career. And that was the moment where I felt like, okay, I'm making an impact as a writer, even if it's just to this one dude. But if I can, cut through the noise to him, then that means that there are some other people out there.
Nice.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I think this book can help a lot of people, and I think
I'm excited to read it.
Yeah, I think it could, sort of like you said, unlock a sort of second chapter for your life in terms of like, I genuinely feel like this is one of the biggest issues and topics that I think people are struggling with at the moment is, kind of that there's only so many hours in a day.
Yes.
And there's just seems like a never ending amount of things to be able to do in a day. And I don't think people are able to maintain the pace that we are all working at the moment. Right. And I feel like it's not sustainable. And speaking personally, like you got to turn some things around. You got to like look in the mirror and say, okay, well, I'm doing this, this, and this, and this. And sometimes that it's not like, it's not good for you.
Yeah.
It's not awesome that 14 hours a day on your phone is maybe a bit too many. Like, that those things should change, but it's like forcing yourself to make some of those changes and actually working on it. It is actually a skill to learn. Yeah. And I think we need more people to teach and lead the way. So thank you for doing that. And sure. I think that's an important part. And I do think you can have a lot of impact on a lot of people, speaking for myself and everyone else out there, which is like, I do think we're all feeling this way.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's getting better anytime soon. So I think
until everyone reads the book.
Reads the book,
the world changes.
Yeah, Put Down the Creative Act by Rick Rubin.
Don't read that.
Stop trying to channel things through the universe.
Yeah,
and
this book's way shorter.
This book is way shorter, and it's got way more pictures.
Yeah.
And
we love pictures
and
activities too.
And activities to do. And Rick Rubin's book doesn't even talk about the Beastie Boys or Jay-Z at all. It's just about
wrestling
like the things you want a Rick Rubin's book to be about. Not enough people are talking about how that book sucks. I'm kidding.
Woo!
No, the book. Sorry, Rick Rubin, Long Island legend.
I know, Long Island.
Yeah, what are you throwing dirt on his name, Alex?
So here's my problem with Rick Rubin, and this is like, this is sad. Like, not sad. Rick Rubin was a hero of mine for a really long time. Like, I'm a hip hop fan, and I just always admired his philosophies on creativity and his like. Just his outputs. Like the man has been behind the scenes of so much work that has had such a big impact on my life. And being from Long Island, there aren't that many creative heroes there. And so I've always used him as sort of a North Star for me, really genuinely for a long time. And now he's every creative person's North Star in Brooklyn. To be seen walking around with this book is so cliche at this moment that it's like, oh yeah, you do graphic design and you like Rick Rubin, and it's kind of like your favorite band getting like
they're
blown
too cool.
up and
Yeah.
too cool, and that's how I feel about Rick Rubin, which
He might come back around.
which is
too.
unfortunate. So
Well, Alex, I know a not so.
uh,
Mike Schneidt's a not so
Mike
known
Schneidt.
author.
What is segue?
He kind
What
of-
is segue?
Kind of a cool indie book to
Yeah,
carry around Brooklyn.
just carry
Yeah, carry
around.
that around.
Yeah.
just be
Nice
like,
yellow cover.
Yeah, Rick
looks
Rubin.
great against
Who?
it, yeah.
Rick Rubin. Who? No, seriously. But that doesn't take away from Rick Rubin and his philosophies and his his body of work is outstanding, and from Long Island. So we
love
shouldn't
him.
hate on our own because we only have so many top 10 list. Again, we don't need to go back, but Busta
I'm number
Rhymes,
11. Yeah.
Mike
Yeah, it was top
Schnaidt,
11.
top
Yeah,
11.
top 11. It's been modified.
Lindsay Lohan, Busta Rhymes.
I feel like this list changed from the beginning of the podcast.
No,
Different order.
A different order.
Yeah, it's a
Judd
different-
Apatow is another one until he writes a book. And he's written a book actually.
He wrote a book.
I read his book. I read Long Island. So
You got to walk around the train with his book.
Long Island in the house. Thank you, Mike Schneidt.
What's your stance on vacation?
Well, Kevin, I'm trying to end the show.
I want to go longer.
Keep going
I wanna
longer.
I'm trying to show my endurance. trying to flex.
Kevin just woke up now.
I know. Yeah. For the first 45 minutes of the show, Kevin,
He was
where
just
were
staring
you?
at me longingly.
Yeah. He's waiting. You got to ask these questions.
Do you write about vacation in your book?
No, I didn't write
No?
about vacation.
No.
Yeah.
Do you think people should take him or no?
I love vacation.
I'm firmly against them.
Are you?
No, I'm kidding.
You won't let Kevin take vacation.
We have a very clear no
I take it
vacation
anyway.
policy here.
You what?
I don't ask.
You
Yeah.
just take it. Yeah.
I mean, look at his shirt, Carpe Diem. Come on,
Oh,
this man.
ba-dum-bum.
Boom! He loves to go outside.
It's like a Bass Pro Shops thing, right?
Kevin
Yeah.
every day wears a new shirt that I'm just like, who makes this?
This
Where
is
did
a
I
dark
find it?
glue, John.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Shouts
I
to
got
the
it at their
boys.
party.
How's
Dark
that
and glue.
fabric though? It looks a little rough.
It's cotton.
Well, there's cotton. There's good cotton.
I mean, it's maybe
Like, would Mark Wahlberg wear it?
no. I mean,
Probably.
Mark Wahlberg only wears the
Municipal.
Yeah, only wears the top tier of cotton. The
His own-
municipal
his own
Johns,
product.
yeah.
Municipal.
Yeah.
What a terrible name for a brand.
I don't know. I think
Yeah, let's name our
kinda
clothes
bangs.
after a sewer.
Municipal.
I think it bangs.
You like it?
I mean,
Municipal?
not genuinely, but like
What does that mean?
I don't know. I like the idea of it.
Okay.
Yeah, he likes it ironically. That's
I like it
I
ironically.
speak
yeah.
Kevin.
I think-
fluent Kevin.
I love when he's doing his videos and he's like, "Stay prayed up, municipal."
Yeah,
It's great.
exactly. Stay prayed up tequila.
I
Yeah.
will say, I got to give Mark Wahlberg a lot of credit. He has had a lot of entertainment endurance, famous endurance in an industry where I see his movies. Sometimes they pop up. I'm like, how did we let this guy like make so many fucking
many movies.
shitty movies? Like all these terrible, like, bro comedies that no one wanted and no one saw. Like this man has made
I wish he made more music.
100 movies
Do you?
that no
yeah,
one.
his music is great.
Mark Wahlberg, he shot like 2 for 100 in his movie career, and like this guy's
Endurance,
out
though, he
here.
doesn't quit.
Which two? Boogie Nights and
I mean, Boogie Nights
Nights,
is so sick.
yeah, and Ed,
And-
Ted. Just
Ted.
What about Shooter?
I didn't see that one.
You didn't see Shooter?
No, what's
Did you not
Shooter?
have FX like in 2010?
I have a blind spot for movies.
He
Yeah.
plays a sniper. That's all you need to know. He plays a
Oh, I've
sniper.
seen that one, yeah.
yeah, he's like in a cabin and
Yeah,
like he
yeah.
gets attacked and like he just like sets up bombs. And
Okay.
It's more about like the plot, which
Yeah, yeah.
is kind of
Okay.
a thin plot.
I will say then when we figured out Mark Wahlberg, he's good when he's in like somewhat serious action role
Yeah.
type of drama.
when he doesn't talk.
When he doesn't talk and
Yeah.
just runs around. But like he's done so many movies with like Kevin Hart and The Rock, and then
Yeah.
he's just like, how do we let this man
Endurance.
make money?
But did he write a
Endurance.
book? Did he write? And
Yeah,
design a book?
probably.
He should write a book.
The creative act.
I'm gonna say, without looking at my computer right now, he's written at least one, maybe
You think
potentially
so?
2 books. I mean, Mark Wahlberg. We're talking about Mark Wahlberg.
He's got a clothing
here.
brand.
He wrote
Yeah,
the Bible.
I'd be
The
shocked.
Bible Part 2.
I mean, he's got an enviable lifestyle. You don't think he's teaching other people how to live the Mark
It's true.
Wahlberg way?
That's true.
Mark Wahlberg book.
Oh,
This is where the show is.
this
really
is where
going.
we go downhill.
Yeah,
This is where we lose listeners.
yeah, 100%.
Also, the ratio of talking about me and Mark Wahlberg is slowly creeping.
You brought him up.
Yeah.
I brought him up earlier.
Yeah, I guess
Mark
a callback.
Wahlberg.
I don't know.
Rat Bastards, the South Boston Irish mobster who took the rap when everyone else ran. That's his book?
That can't be his book. That's the other Mark Wahlberg.
That's a different Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah.
Don't Call Me Marky Mark, the unauthorized book? No, that's
Oh, I love that.
unauthorized.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe he hasn't written a book. Shout out to Mark Wahlberg. Reach out to sort of Rockport Publishing, and
we're turning it around now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Question.
Sure.
Well, we're just going long for the sake of going
Okay.
long.
Endurance, baby.
Endurance.
Yeah, this is endurance.
How
That's what
much
it's all
longer
about,
can
yeah.
we go?
Give me another coffee. Let's keep going.
Yeah, you're right. That book was not the Mark Wahlberg book.
Coffee is a word where my Long Island comes out.
Coffee,
Coffee.
chocolate.
Yeah,
That's all I got.
go
right?
to the mall.
Mall.
But I don't go to the mall anymore.
No,
I hated going to the
Roosevelt
mall.
Field.
Yes,
Of course.
hated Roosevelt.
The interviews in this book.
Yes.
How did you sort of secure these interviews? Were you cold emailing people, or like how did you? That's a lot of people to get into contact with.
That's
I
a
imagine
lot of
you
people.
didn't know Molly Boz or maybe knew her from publications and other stuff. Like how did you know? How did you reach out to astronauts and scientists? And all that kind of stuff?
Molly Boz, I literally just cold emailed.
Cool.
But
Wow.
she worked
Shout
at
out to Molly.
Yeah, she worked at Bon Appetit, which is another magazine. So I just, said, "Hey, I'm writing a book. Can I interview you?"
Cool.
And she responded to me, which was cool. There were people that I wrote to that didn't respond to me.
Call them out.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not gonna do
Put them on
that.
blast.
With like NASA, like working at Men's Health, like I had like an editor who had a contact at NASA.
Damn,
So
nice.
yeah, but it was a PR person who then put me in touch with
Mhm.
Jeanette. Dean Karnassus, who's he's big in the running community. He's the ultra marathoner. Literally just cold emailed him. So I think a majority of the people I just sent an email to
Nice.
and thought like, let me take a shot and see what they say. And, for the most part, like if you say to somebody, "Hey, I'm writing a book and I'm not looking to make you look like an asshole," they'll be in the book.
That probably comes with a little bit of clout, right? You're like, I'm writing a book.
I mean, that
Do you want to be in a
sentence,
book?
You want to be in a book? I'm writing a book. Sounds
Yeah.
good. But then they're like, "Who the hell are you?"
I'm Mike
Yeah,
Schnaidt,
I'm Mike
baby.
Schnaidt.
I'm Mike
Yeah.
Schnaidt.
Go all
I
Schnaidt
got
long.
endurance. All Schnaidt long. Has anyone ever said that to you before?
This might be a first.
Wow, Kevin, you
Yeah,
really go.
Kevin can own it.
His
Yeah.
copywriter is showing all Schnaidt long.
I'm gonna
His
change my Instagram
creative
handle,
endurance.
No,
is
just secure it.
just
Just
all
keep
Schnaidt.
Schnaidt.
Oh,
Do a little.
is it my Finsta or is it the real one?
I don't know. You decide.
All right.
All Schnaidt long.
Yeah, that seems like a strange Instagram account.
Yeah.
You don't want to go there.
It could be your
The after
Mark
hours.
Wahlberg and Boogie Nights.
Dude, we talked
tribute.
about Mark Wahlberg. We're not bringing his name up anymore.
Yeah.
We were just moving the ratio back.
Confirmed he has not written a book, so I'm wrong
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Page 66. Let's just read the book together. The client isn't always wrong.
We're really extending this.
60, page 67. The client isn't always right. Look at that. I
Whoa.
see what you did there. A little,
Yeah, yeah.
sort of both sides of the coin. Yeah, clients are always right.
All right. Should we?
Okay.
Talking about finding a good ending. Should we just hit a nice abrupt ending here?
Oh yeah, just
This
say
podcasting's not like writing a book.
It's-
Yeah.
We can end it whenever. Yeah, I can.
Infinite.
I can just cut it right here.
Culture is your superpower. I agree with that. Feed your values.
Alex is just gonna
Okay.
read this book on air.
Yeah, look, he's
Well-
gonna read it for the first time on air.
Mike Schneider.
Let's see how fast we could read it.
56
Do you have an
rules.
audiobook where you?
There is an audiobook.
Yeah.
Are you
did-
reading it?
I am not reading it. I
Who's
did
reading it? Mark Wahlberg.
not-
Oh my God, Alex.
Not Mark Wahlberg. I did get to pick out the voice actor though.
Oh, that's cool.
He sounded pretty good. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, you picked him out. You
Well, they
picked
gave
the
me 4
voice?
options and I picked one person.
Did you not want to read it yourself? Or you?
I did not want to
option?
read it myself. Like,
Really?
yeah.
I feel like that'd be half the fun of it.
We're rolling
I mean,
right
we
now.
can redo.
We could-
we could release part 2.
Yeah, if you really want to prove you can,
prove my
your
endurance, just
endurance. Yeah, just
read the whole book
yeah.
on air.
Being an astronaut isn't one of the coolest jobs on another planet. A dream shared by many, but pursued by few.
Ooh,
How's that
I should have
sound?
gotten you. to
Yeah,
read it.
yeah.
You have a good reading voice.
I'm available.
No problem.
I love jobs.
Well, we have AI now, so we could have AI read it.
Oh yeah, I could just say like a couple words and they'll just put the rest
Yeah,
together and
yeah.
they can get something.
Well, Alex, we've got an extensive library of you.
Oh,
speaking
you're
for the past
right.
2
Yeah,
years,
yeah,
so I
yeah.
don't think it'd be too
That's
hard
true.
to.
Yeah,
Just
we can
feed it to
replicate
the
you.
robots.
Yeah.
That'd be
That's-
funny. I should.
That is a good
That's
idea.
another
I
good
should get
idea.
us on AI, but
I should get us on AI.
Yeah, we could finally stop doing this podcast and just have someone else do it.
endurance hack AI.
Yeah, have AI write the next book.
Sagi Haviv, you need to figure out what you're really passionate about and do it.
Boom,
Boom.
boom.
That's
That is true.
Yeah. That's
All right, Alex.
That's
we're
the
kinda-
end.
We're kind of
okay. Now I'm the one doing the going long. Sometimes the hill is easy. Sometimes it's steep. But when you reach the top, all is forgiven. Yuku Shimizu.
That's a good
Wow.
closer.
Facts.
That is a good closer.
Facts. Well, I will actually end the podcast by saying thank you, Michael, for coming.
Michael. We got really formal at the
All
end.
right. Is your last name or your full name Michael?
Yeah.
Okay. Whew. I thought after all this time and all this show, I just got your name wrong.
I mean, you kind of did.
Yeah, you kind of did.
You kinda
yeah.
did.
It's Mike on the cover for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike Schnaidt. It's good. Like, do most people call you Mike Schnaidt? Like, I feel like
Yes.
they go together, right? You're one
They
of those
call me
people-
Mike Schneider. A lot of people just call me Schnaidt,
yeah.
which
It's
is
a
a
good
very
name.
Long Island thing. But also, like,
Schnaidt.
my wife calls me Schneidt.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you play sports as a kid?
No.
No sports.
I ran track for like half a season, but I didn't like it. So
Endurance.
I worked a lot, though.
Sounds
I worked
like-
a lot.
Yeah, you worked at the
Brick Cafe.
Delis and the Brick Cafe.
And a pet store. I worked at a pet store. too.
Oh, really? What was that like?
It smelled really
Was it
bad.
shitty?
It was shitty, but
Yeah. I'm not a big animal person.
No?
Cut this from the podcast.
yeah.
Okay.
We don't need to prove our endurance.
Yeah,
anymore.
we're-
Okay, fine.
We've proven it to
proved our
Kevin.
endurance.
Kevin
Guess what,
believes
guys?
us. We have endurance.
We've all lasted really, really long here today, and I will say that's a first for Kevin and I. Thank you so
Ooh.
much, Mike. Creative Endurance available now. Go pick it up. Actually, in stores. Will this be?
This will be
available
in stores,
A
yeah,
book
yeah.
in stores
Hell
at your
yeah.
local bookstore.
Hopefully at your local bookstore. Some bookstore in Canada already has it.
Well, go outside and
Yeah.
go
Already?
to the
Yeah.
bookstore
Go to Toronto. They're in the future.
and
Wow.
say, I have a problem. I need to last longer.
Yeah.
Do you have any books
Do you-
that you
or
recommend?
pills.
Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, we left a lot of those ones on the cutting floor.
Yeah,
cutting room
Kevin, do you
floor.
want to ask the lasting long questions that you have?
No.
No.
Okay, fine. We're out.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
I mean, I do, but I won't.